Okay, good 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 morning everybody. Now those two past episodes, ladies and gentlemen, it was to explain certain things in regards to this day on the 14th, which I want to explain to you about Zatar law and things I'm going to start explaining in the Holy Scriptures to make sense of everything. Ryan and I and many of my friends joined the AmeriCorps. Ryan brought to my attention when I was in college, recently and in the past, Ryan has relatives from the McCarthy and the O'Shea family. And he brought to my attention two things that Isaac also brought from the Anatoly family's relatives. And that is, you can't, in constitutional law, and it has to do with parliamentary rules and regulations, when our country was founded, something that Charlie Kirk and many of those people like Candace Owens brought up on her shows and etc. You can't censor, now regarding YouTube and everything, you can't censor facts. Published Clearinghouse, ladies and gentlemen, have been having problems for a very long time. Let me repeat that. They have been having problems for a very long time. Because Danielle, I think her name is Danielle Lem. I could be wrong, but I'll look it up. She was one of the people I had to correspond with in one point when I was doing research and development. Yes, Danielle Lem, L-A-M. Okay. Now, ladies and gentlemen, New York. I'm just going to look up a lottery book that I'm going to explain, because it's explained in lottery law and the Gaming Commission. Some of these people, it explains what you do in an instance when you have the lottery. So I'm just looking this textbook up. I think it's on Amazon's as well. I think it is on Amazon. Winning, yeah. I think it's Thomas Rudders. I think Thomas Rudders did certain things. Reuters. Sorry for my pronunciation. Practice, Treasury. Let's see. It's on wills, cooperative, intellectual properties, mergers, acquisitions. Well, that I can bring up as well. Okay. Well, in New York State, okay, Gaming Commission. Okay, I wanted to bring this up. The New York State Gaming Commission, I want to bring up, ladies and gentlemen, because it has to do with Danielle and some of these correspondents, like Tommy Gunn explained. When I was in SUNY Alfred for my first semester. This is in like 2007, early 2007 into 2008. I was in those programs, ladies and gentlemen, where you could take those AP courses in high school and you can transfer it over to the college. Now, I had a professor that taught at Alfred State, and I think his first name was Thomas. I don't remember his last name, but he was a biologist, and I got I think a B or a C in the course, and it got transferred over to Nassau. Thomas, who's the professor, had a Native American shirt on, and he explained certain things to me which I didn't know at the time. And he said to me, this school, John, might not be a good pick for you because you do have a computer engineering background, meaning you're good with computers, John, but we don't do that in this. The school is like a liberal arts type of school. It's just a basic school. It's nothing outrageous. So that's what Professor the Dr. Thomas, his first name was. And then he explained to me, go back, you should probably just take courses at Nassau for 2 semesters, and if you like SUNY Buffalo or any of the SUNY universities that deal with computer engineering, you should go there. Because he said one of my friends teaches over there, and he was a cousin of Professor Gray. His friend was Professor Gray, and he would correspond, I guess, through conference calls or whatever it is. The Zoom meetings weren't used. I mean, they were used, but they would call. He had a cell phone, but a flip phone, like one of those old Samsung phones. So that's what he explained. This is why I'm doing this episode about the Uncle John Show, which is related to certain things I'm just going to discuss. Ladies and gentlemen, there is Bill of Rights in New York State. In California, they have the same laws. Now I'm going to explain something to you about health and hygiene and anything related to that matter. Now I'm looking it up. I'm doing Google search. Of rights. This is something I learned in medical an attorney, and there's courses that they teach in pre-law and law school, like in business law. I took business 1, business 2, and business 3 when I was not just at Queens College. I had to take it at the other places because certain schools in graduate or undergraduate, they're very, very different. So I want to explain this. So the New York State hospital system, like HIPAA, has Bill of Rights. I didn't look it up. Okay, the New York State Hospital Patient Bill of Rights. Just give me 1 second, everybody. Just give me 1 second. Just got to go back. Just give me 1 second. I got to help my dog Pedro out. Sai, enough. You want to come in here? Come in here. Come in here, Sai. Come. Sit up there. Sit up there. Sit up there. Sit. Lay down. Sit. Chill. Sorry, everybody. My dog he's very sensitive. So the Patient Bill of Rights is on Department of Health's website. This was explained to me by Department of Health and Department of Labor and etc. Now, give me a second, everybody. I want to make sure my dog, Pedro's okay. You know how dogs are, ladies and gentlemen. It's just like cats. I had a cat as well. Wonderful creatures. Animals are very important for safety and etc. So, Dr. Gray, when I was at Nassau, and Mr. Spector, and this guy, Michael Spector. Michael Spector, I just want to say something. Thank you for your relatives teaching me stuff. your relative, I think one of your relatives helped me out in college, so I want to say thank you, and to thank you to Michael Suvero and his relatives for teaching me things about law school so I can help educate certain people related to this profession. So, I studied things in constitutional law. It all has to do with the Bill of Rights. Now, we Christian, Muslim, Jews, all of us, we follow what Zatar law is. Zatar law, ladies and gentlemen, is similar to Sharia law. It's interchangeable. So I want to explain something about this book, Hebrew and Aramaic. So, in order for you to survive, you need to understand something, everybody. Theories that have to do with psychology, things that Hunter Patch Adams brought up. Not just in the movie with Robin Williams. He had a book. He did theses. He did things on experimentation, meaning he tested certain things out with these universities like Johns Hopkins University. I think he went to I believe, let me just make sure I have the correct information. I want to always verify the sources, everybody, because some of these people, I want to respect their memories and things related to that nature. Okay. So he went to let me go. Let me look this up. He attended Wakefield High School. Then he completed George Washington University. Wow. I did not know that. His doctorate of medicine at the Medical College of Virginia in the Virginia Commonwealth University. Okay. Thought he went to Johns Hopkins. Let me see. Could be wrong. I could be wrong, everybody. I could be wrong. Nobody's perfect. Okay. I'll do research, a little bit of research on it, but I want to make sure I give you the good information. So, I believe he went to, I think he when he was in university, he tried to follow the guidelines or the policies and procedures of what the state and federal government was. He did have trouble with his license, and certain people that I think Patch Adams, worked with, had trouble. Means that there was always problems. There was another person that was black. I'm going to look up he was a cardiologist, and he had a learning disability, ladies and gentlemen. And I did research about this person, and he was a cardiologist. He studied the heart. Cardiologist. Let me see. Just give me a second. Yeah, because he had a learning disability, everybody, and he worked on it. John Rhodes Jr., I think. That might be one of them. That might be one of them, ladies and gentlemen. That might be one of them. But there's quite a bit. There was plenty of pioneers. Okay. Now, yeah, I think that's one of them. And then there was one before that, prior to this. Here, let me see. Because some of these professors, and there was an ophthalmologist as well, that I watched a book. Okay. Let me get back to the story. When I was at New York University, my dedication was I had trouble at Queens College. There was a woman out there that was, I'm going to say black, who got discriminated against. And there were certain things I had to bring up in court, not just in workers' comp or etc. But I wrote theses where I was trying to explain that, the purpose of the NAACP and most of these civil rights groups, it has to do with the discrimination. Just because you're black, just because you're white, just because you're Spanish or Asian, there's a lot of hate that goes on in these colleges. That there was Asian hate in Queens College. It was the same thing in SUNY Buffalo. There are certain people that put the SWAT sticker up, or they would say some derogatory term. We had to deal with that at Princeton and Cornell University and Columbia and etc. Just give me 1 second, everybody. Listen, you need to relax. Just checking on my dog, ladies and gentlemen. So, for a very long time, and I'm going to just say this, and I want to just explain this to you guys, ladies and gentlemen. You can't discriminate against people based on freedom, freedom of speech and etc. And my mother and a lot of my relatives, see the Quran, my mother and a lot of relatives promote things where you gotta help people, your family, your friends, everybody's gotta work together. My sister, she does work, she drives, she does a lot of stuff. My mother helps out my sister. My mother helps out me. I help out my mom. I help out my sister, etc. But my sister and I, we always got along with each other no matter what. Even when we had these little squabbles, we got along. But my mom, she was a big component for education. She and my grandfather, and I never met George, but he was a big component with education. So my aunt and my uncle, Ginny and Dave, they were big components with this education. You need to have education and skills and certain things. You need, in other words, I'm trying to say, ladies and gentlemen, you need people in construction. You need people that are plumbers and carpenters and electricians and etc. You need people that are masons. I'm not saying Mason, the organization. I'm saying Mason meaning construction person. You need Tony and Bobby and Billy to be able to do certain things. It's not just for women, it's not just for men, but it's for everybody. So, you can't, the Quran, I just want to explain something to you guys. the Quran, this book is a guide of what the Torah is, ladies and gentlemen. It's just a guide. That's all it is, ladies and gentlemen. It's a guide. See? Large print, the Torah, the 5 books of Moses, the Holy Scriptures. You know, Memphis, Friedman, and so was Matthew Goldberg, and most of these doctors and rabbis and priests, you know, they brought up, it's the same thing with Cardinal Timothy Dolan and many of these priests. There's a priest that was at my church at St. Barnabas that was, I think, from Ireland or Scotland. And you got to promote love and worshiping, Yahweh and Elohim. And God doesn't want you to feel like you're lost. He wants to point you in the correct direction. But most of you guys, you worry too much. You worry too much about these cards, meaning money, meaning the credit card. Instead of focusing, you got to focus on, sometimes I hate to say this, you need to focus on yourself. Not to be selfish, but you have to focus, you got to work on yourself first, then go look for women, then go look for things. Don't be following this new age nonsense. Or this, I'm sorry to say this to the Wiccan or pagan community. I'm sorry, apologize. My relatives are in those things. Some of my relatives are in them. Some of my relatives left. It's the same thing with this Satan and Luciferian things. Some of my relatives were in that organization, ladies and gentlemen. I can't sit here and if my grandfather was next to me or my grandmother was next to me, I can't lie to you, ladies and gentlemen, and say, oh, my relatives didn't practice voodoo, or they weren't gypsy people, or they weren't pirate people, or they weren't, whatever it is. Or they weren't Albanian, or they weren't Yugoslavian. And they don't do, they don't practice. No, they practice it. So when you guys just remember I just want to make a joke to you, ladies and gentlemen, to you women that like to do the witchcraft and you're shaking your hands and everything like that. Just remember, just because you have I'm just making a joke here, ladies and gentlemen. This is a joke. Just because you're Alpha Draconian or whatever you are, Anunnaki, you're Nephilim, I don't care what you are. You decide I'm a pet wolf, whatever you decide to call yourself. Just remember, I just want to explain something with this regards to this belt and things related. All of us were treated like slaves for a very long time. So don't think you're the only person. To all those people that are these Alpha Draconians, I'm just going to keep it real with you guys. There is such things, ladies and gentlemen, as a Men in Black program. It exists. Okay? So what are you going to do, Men in Black people? You going to put me in jail for telling the truth? You can't lie. So what? You have yourself, so what? So what to the angelic and demonic people equivalent, your species or whatever? Sharon and half of my relatives, they already know you exist. There are aliens out there. What are you going to do? Lie to me? You got to be honest here. You got to be honest. Because let me tell you something. Those people that are forensic people or they do stuff in the police department, they know what these 2 wounds are. It's like a snake bite. All of a sudden, you have you got Dr. Sharon or Dr. Melissa or half of my friends or my relatives that are women or men. They're saying, that doesn't look like, they're looking, I'm sorry everybody, they're looking to with the the microscope, and they're looking at it, and they're examining the paperwork, and they're looking at the labs, and they're looking at the markings. Are like, most sheriff's departments say, and I'm going to say this in the South because I learned this from this guy. Where the heck is it? I have a book. Phil Robinson talked about this as well with the duck hunting, etc. I ain't going to look it up. I ain't going to get it. Phil even brought this up, Dr. Phil, with some of this stuff. You can't have, ladies and gentlemen, in the Bronx or Brooklyn, a pet tiger, all right? I'm just going to repeat that. The FDNY had explained to John and many of those EMTs, like private investigators, all you hear is Karen. You know Karen, the guy, Will Farrell, he has the cougar. Well, ladies and gentlemen, you can't just have a pet tiger, okay? Let me tell you something. I'm going to show you a bag. I'm going to take the stuff out of the bag, but I'm going to explain this. My mother gave me this bag. Oh, this is great. This is my mother's bag, everybody. My mother got me this bag. This was her medical bag, okay? Okay? Thank you. Army medicine. Caring beyond the call of duty. 2009. I think this, ladies and gentlemen, is very historical. Oh no, I don't believe it. BLS. See, my mother did stuff. You make a difference for our nations and heroes, for our country, for ourselves. Oh wow. We're going to get graphic here. You see this, ladies and gentlemen? Oh, and you got a calendar too. United States Army. Isn't that great? So when I was in the field, I was in a field. Literally a field. I want to just bring up a word, everybody, because I have a capsule, and it's about hopes and dreams, everybody. Okay. Hope, trust that is wanted, that will happen. Okay? So, as the Joker, as a trickster equivalent, just to be a character, I gotta go up to Kevin and all my relatives. This is great. I have one of this. I have the BLS and I have the ALS as well. Basic life support and then advanced life support. Compressions, airway, breathing. The ABCs, ladies and gentlemen. The ABCs, ladies and gentlemen. This 2015, isn't this great? Of me saying, John, you never got recertified. Listen to the New York Secretary of State. You could have me retake the exam till I go blue in the face. but I can't fix a computer system because medical has nothing to do with computer engineering. Hold on, ladies and gentlemen. This is the module. Now I want to explain this about the module 1. Express consent, implied consent. You need permission, ladies and gentlemen. Let me adjust this. You need permission, ladies and gentlemen. This is one of my things. One of my things. Just like Barron and all these other one of my review packets that I have. Okay, everybody, hold on. Just putting this back. Now, I'm just going to explain something to you guys. With this thing. With the life and health insurance and all these licenses like Exam FX, etc. Okay. Oh my goodness. Okay. Grievances. All right. So, Exam FX had my iCloud account, just like I think the other one was. Here, hold on, ladies and gentlemen. Becker. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen, Becker. So I want to explain something to you about all of these things that I learned, ladies and gentlemen, with this life and health insurance. I'm going to put this back. And annuities and etc. When I was with John Curry and Joseph Colombo at New York Life, they basically explained to me, here, I'm going to, hold on. They basically explained to me, you need to think outside the box. So, the American Red Cross, all of these non-for-profit charitable organizations I'm bringing up, the Torah law, the Zatar law, the Quran, the Shira law, halal diet, the kosher diet, all of these things are all correlated with each other. So when you're a cardiologist, a pulmonologist, when you're studying this stuff, ladies and gentlemen, just keep in mind that there are people surrounded by energy. There are people out there, just like objects that can take energy. There's certain things that are related to spirits or objects that do have the ability, ladies and gentlemen, to just take energy. This device can give energy, means the device can give you enjoyment, and it can take away. It can give you disparity and etc. So just keep that in mind. So when you're on the cell phone or any of these things, keep this stuff in mind, ladies and gentlemen, because, the Magnus Macardus and all of these occult, the Magnus Macardus of the occult philosophy, the philosophy of life, all of this stuff. I just want to bring something up. I'm just going to explain something. See, it says, it's the beginning. As an introduction to the study of natural magic, we have the thought to fit precisely a short discourse on the influence of the stars and on natural magic in general, showing how far the influence of the heavenly bodies are useful to our promises. Now, I could go further, ladies and gentlemen, but I'm not going to go further. I'm going to get to the next part. The next part is I want to bring up this other book. Robert Kiyosaki brought up something. And I want to read this important part. Things related to communism and things related to what our country stands for, and what is exactly the message that we need to bring up. We were warned, everybody. Your America are so gullible. No, you won't escape communism outright, but will keep feeding your small dose of socialism until you finally wake up and find you already have communism. Now, this quote was done by one of the Soviet presidents, or the Soviet oligarch head people. Now, it's Nikita. Nikita. I'm not going to spell the last name. I'm going to put this on the computer. But Robert brought up to me, because he did guest lecturing. A lot of these people, like David Icke and Billy Carson and the guy there's a guy from History Channel, which I can't remember his name, but the owner of the TRX NYC, the owner, he brought up certain things that all is correlated with this stuff. We can't. Socialism, ladies and gentlemen, just like versions of capitalism, doesn't work. It's not success. Laissez-faire market does work, but certain capitalistic things don't work. You can't have a monopoly company like a PSE&G or any of these. You can't have just one electric company when you need to have a market system, because in economics, when you're studying macroeconomics and microeconomics, when you're studying that, you want to become an economics major. Those theories that have to do with our democracy, it's really our republic, ladies and gentlemen. It's our republic. We are a republic. We're not a democracy. That word, they interchange those words. It's like liberty and freedom. They interchange those words. In Latin, in the Anglo-Saxon French term, when you are taught in college, if any of those professors did not bring up, it has to do partly with the German and partly to do with the French Anglo-Saxon has to do with partly with the French, partly with the German, partly with the English, partly with the Italians, etc. The whole purpose of this system, ladies and gentlemen, linguistics, etc., is to teach you that in the Zatar law, now I'm going to go to this page. Ladies and gentlemen, you need to understand, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to page 65, and there's a big word. It's called justice. And justice will get served to a lot of these people with turkey and mashed potatoes and all these types of vegetables. So, justice. It is the second of actions bringing strict justice into the cosmos. Translates to judgment or strength. So, ladies and gentlemen, do you think the Lord God, known as Elohim or because it's not Elohim, Yahweh, Jofi, they're not just one person. I just want to explain this. Adonai Shaddai, that person is a grandfather. Jofi Rapha is his brother. Elohim and Yahweh are their children. So there's four. There's more than just four, but there's four. And how all of us got made is through a thing called sex. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen. That's how the world is made. They have a version of what you call sex. So how are certain people able to follow certain things? Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's beyond me. Everybody, I think, is going in different directions. So, I want to get back to this story. I'm making it a little bit longer. Isaac and I meet his dad, Alfred, who is in Pennsylvania, outside of Pittsburgh. And he's in banking and investment, etc. And he does stuff with the Treasury Department, meaning the Federal Reserve. He does stuff with them. He does stuff with the Bank of London. So I'm going to explain this. So Alfred had brought to my attention, just like Isaac, your grandfather and your other grandmother's relatives, they own land, they own things, and they're not telling you the whole story because there was a fist fight during World War I and World War II times between certain classes of people. So, Richard Hilton brought to my attention, like Paris, and I don't know what the status is of Paris, because my conclusion is a lot of those people that were my sister and I's old friends in college, even Ryan and Jason and James, all my friends, like Valerie said, these people changed. You got into Angelina, you got into a marriage with somebody and you weren't even happy. Kim, it's the same thing with you. You got into a marriage, you weren't happy, Kim. Neither were you, Chloe. You were not happy. You dated these basketball players, and your mom said two things to you, and I'm going to just say this. Your mother said that it would not work well. If he's going to cheat or lie or do anything weird, it's not going to end well. So, in regards to the Hilton family, just like the Hadid family, like Yolanda Hadid with the modeling, I got a full education when I was in college about the drugs and alcohol and what to be careful with. So I'm just going to say this, everybody, I'm fully aware of what you guys do in these businesses. And just keep in mind that, no offense, I don't mean to be a pain in the neck to the NSA and Homeland Security. You need to be aware of something. If you guys are not getting into contact with the foreign intelligence in Europe and France and all of these countries like Italy, ladies and gentlemen, Homeland Security and NSA, you're going to have problems because they do have marshals or sheriff's departments that are in Europe that know I'm just saying this because David Icke brought this up in the conspiracy book with September 11th. And I did have to do a version of testifying, but not related to September 11th, but things related to terrorism. You cannot hide any of those funds from the Central Intelligence Agency. Let me repeat that. I want the FBI to hear this. You cannot hide funds from the CIA or MI6 people. It is the same thing in Korea with the Korean foreign intelligence. So that guy, Kim Jong-un, he's fully aware. I'm sorry to say this, President Donald Trump. He plays stupid like a joker. Those people, I'm sorry to say this, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sorry to say this. My relatives are Asian. They're not just Spanish or French. I did a thorough history. I didn't go to Ancestry.com. I went to an expert that did research and development in college and said you're Jewish, you're Christian, you're Muslim, you're Asian, you're Korean. The name Lee is one of my relatives' ancestors' names. The Anatolis, the Sturmas, they had interchangeable names. In regards to all of this stuff that I'm trying to explain to you kids as well, keep this in mind when you're when you're going through school. Spend time off the video games. Start doing, when I refer you, subscribe to the channel, ladies and gentlemen. Subscribe. This is free. I could charge. This is free. I'm not just going to do this video, ladies and gentlemen. I'm also going to do things related to courses. I'm going to teach. But that I'm going to charge. I'm going to see if I can speak to one of these people like Joey Diaz or Theo Vaughn's other relatives that's in my neighborhood that can help me be pointed in the correct direction. So thank you guys. Take care. Have a wonderful day. To all the first responders and to the people I'm praying for you, I wish you the best of luck. To the Nassau County Police Department and to the Suffolk County and all your law enforcement, I'm praying for you. Because you guys don't deserve to go through this treatment of pain and suffering. You're getting screwed. And I know it. And I'm going to try and do the best I can with this Uncle John show so that your rights get treated correctly. Because I did stuff for the Benevolent Association, and I'm going to try and do my very best to be running for government positions from this day forward. So take care, guys. Have a pleasant and wonderful day. To all the firefighters and EMT, I'm praying for you with this September 11th. It's a bad time, just like this Charlie Kirk. It's not right what he and these people went through. So take care. Take care, guys. Have a pleasant and wonderful day.